Welcome to Raise Nation Radio, the podcast for nonprofit movers, shakers, and change makers. We are here to fuel your passion with a daily dose of fundraising inspiration while keeping the conversations and connections from the annual Raise Conference alive all year long. Tune in for fresh perspectives, bold strategies, and the hottest trends lighting up the nonprofit world. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, buckle up. Each episode is packed with lively discussions, expert insights, and creative solutions to help you make an even bigger impact. Now get ready for another exciting episode. Please welcome your host from One Cause, Dawn Lego.
Well, hello again, Raise Nation. Welcome back to the show. I'm Dawn Lego. I'm your host today. So glad that you've joined us. We love connecting with our community on this channel. If you've been here before, you know the drill. We have very casual conversations about hot button nonprofit topics. And yeah, we really get into it in a very casual, authentic setting so that you can tune in wherever you are, taking the kids to school or on your treadmill or just relaxing, on the couch, anywhere, any place, anytime. If you've been with us, this is your first time, well, welcome. Our show has about 200 episodes that you need to catch up on, but you could do that all in good time. But for now, I want you all to sit back and relax. We have in the house on the show today, Bill Crouch from BrightDot Advisors. And if you missed the webinar, which we just had a couple weeks, so go to our resource section on onecause.com and check that out as well. But we had thousands register for that webinar, and we needed to bring Bill back for more because there were just so many questions that we didn't get to. So Bill, welcome to Raise Nation Radio. Thank you for your participation on our webinar. Are you ready to answer all those unanswered questions?
Hey, Dawn, yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm just excited to be challenged by some of the questions and see what I might be.
We're going to do that. We're definitely going to do that. But you know what, Bill? For those who missed the webinar and they are not familiar with BrightDot or you or your journey or your history, spill the tea. We want everybody on Raise Nation to get to know you and love you as much as I do. So tell us all about Bill, whatever you want to share.
Thank you, Donna. I'd like to go back to when I was 7 years old because something happened as a child that had a big impact on my future. My mother was an artist. And when I was 7 years old, she started coming into my room. I would be at night, have me lay on my back. She'd cut off the overhead light, turn on the lamp, and ask me to look at the ceiling and tell her what I saw. And I would say, shadows. And she said, no, look deeper. And I said, shadows. And she said, no, look deeper. And then she would put a towel over the lampshade and change the shadows and say, now what do you see? And before long, I started seeing skyscrapers and cars and people moving. And she said to me over and over again, Bill, I want you to be a creative person who can imagine to see things that aren't there for most people. I want you to see deeper and deeper. So, got my education, went on the faculty at a college in North Carolina, been there a couple of months, and the president invited me to his office. And he said to me, I think you could be a college president. And he said, but you got to learn how to raise money. He said, so I'm putting you in the development office and I want you to start the foundation and corporation division for our college. But he said, I also want you to be my chauffeur. And everywhere I go, you drive. And I'll let you go with me into the meetings that I have with donors. And wherever we go, you cannot talk. I'm going to be working. And Don, some of your people might not realize this. There was a time before cell phones. And so he would have a big box.
My daughter would have a hard time believing that.
He would have a box with magazines and letters from parents and stuff like that. And he would read them all to me as we were driving. Then I would get to go in with him to talk to donors. And then on the way back, he would not do any work. And he required me to have 11 questions, not 6.
Wait, 11?
11.
What happened if you were 10 or 12 or 9?
He would fuss at me.
Okay.
But if I had more than 11, we stopped at 11. Now, he was a college football player, and the only thing I could think of is that there were 11 players on a football field. I don't know why he chose 11. But he said, you can ask me where I buy my shirt. You can ask me whatever you want to. If you're smart, you'll ask me things about what happened on the donor meeting. So where I got. And then I became a vice president of a college. And then I had the joy and honor for 22 years to be the president of Georgetown College in Kentucky, a private liberal arts school, in
That
which
prediction came true then.
came true. And
Wow.
I was there for 22 years. A lot of things changed in those 22 years. So I was constantly having to be creative. And I did not work for a public university. So I did not get a single penny for buildings from the federal government or state government. I had to raise all that privately. And so
And you did?
Yes. And that's where we built 17 buildings during the time that I was the president.
17. I thought maybe one, but 17. Okay. But not 11, 17.
And that's where I began to understand high wealth individuals. And
Okay.
and that's why when I left the college, after the students whose diplomas I had signed when I first went there were now sending their children, I decided I had educated a whole generation, that I'd do something else. So I became the senior managing partner of the Jerry Panis fundraising consulting firm in Chicago, where I did that 2 years, and it was quite wonderful, but it wasn't meeting my why. My why was to help the underdog.
Mm.
I was the president of a college that always felt it was an underdog. We were 12 miles from the shadows of the University of Kentucky, and I was always competing. And I didn't have tickets to basketball games, and I didn't have a lot of the things. So I had to use that towel mentality that my mother taught me to
Yeah.
always deeper and be more creative and find ways to get things done that you didn't have those assets working at a public university.
Yeah.
So that's sort of
Wow.
the big story. And now,
What a
right?
beautiful
Yeah.
story about your, your mentorship. I mean, how creative was your mom, right? Like that. Yeah, I just kind of put my kids to bed, right? Like lights on, lights off. No, good. All right. Good night. See you in the morning. So your mom was super, super, super creative. And it sounds like every step of the way, you really just had an influx of great mentorship and creativity being prioritized.
Yeah.
So that
My
kind of spilled into BrightDot, I assume.
my dad, who was a pastor of churches, taught me to take advantage of relationships, so that
Oh,
whenever I had the opportunity to meet somebody who knew more about a subject than I did, or to do that, he taught me one thing. He taught me, whenever you're at a place where there's a speaker, be the last one who leaves the auditorium, because you have
wait, if you're in at a conference, somebody's speaking, you want to be the last one. Okay, did he give you a why behind that?
because you'll have the opportunity to walk the speaker out to his car or her car,
And ask 11 questions.
and you'll have the opportunity to build a relationship. And
Got it.
I've done that all my.
Wow, from 7 years old, you took every lesson with you. Now here we are at BrightDot. So what does BrightDot do? What do you offer the nonprofit space? And give us your elevator pitch there.
As an entrepreneur, what you do is you find the problem, and then you build a solution to solve that problem. So when I started BrightDot 10 years ago, I hired 2 developmental psychologists and asked them to help me figure out what was missing in the nonprofit world that we might be able to solve. And we came back after a year, and we said it's a 16-month turnover. Why are development staff turning over every 16 months across the country? And what could we do? So we started working on it. And we discovered, thanks to the Educational Advisory Board, a study they did about the difference between a great fundraiser and a mediocre fundraiser. And they surveyed 1,200 major gift officers who had been very, very successful.
Okay.
And they came back and they said, development people needed more emotional intelligence.
So
And
that's
so
the difference between a great fundraiser and an average fundraiser, the emotional intelligence.
the emotional intelligence. And so we became a firm that would go in and teach our clients about emotional intelligence, resiliency, the things that you don't typically hear about. It doesn't help you get certified as a fundraiser. It doesn't help you do other things, but it helps you. And we discovered that there were 3 primary reasons that people would come into the business and then leave. One was that everybody falls into the fundraising profession. I don't know anybody who grew up saying, I want to be a fundraiser when I grow up. Right?
Okay.
So a lot of people think they're going to like this because it's fun and you're out there with people, et cetera. And it takes about
And you're
16,
changing the world.
yeah, it takes about 16 months to realize this is really hard work.
It's so hard work.
And it's not what I'm intended to be. So they leave. It
Uh-huh.
also takes a supervisor about 16 months to realize, hey, I might have hired the wrong person. And so
It's a lot of time, you
yeah,
know.
a lot of time.
Yeah.
I'll talk about this a little bit longer about longevity and development people. But then the
Okay.
third reason I think is how nonprofits sabotage ourselves, in that most people who leave who want to stay in the business are leaving because they want to raise. The only way I can get more money is to go to another nonprofit, because my nonprofit gives cost of living raises, and whatever I came in at is going to be 2 or 3% a year over the years. But then we discovered something else recently. Donna, you've heard me talk about this. We think another reason that there's such a turnover is mattership. We don't think that in a lot of nonprofits, the culture is not constantly patting the development people on the back, telling them how they matter. We know the people you serve matter, but having a culture where everybody feels like they matter, that their opinion is taken, that you are really, really well. And I can give you a great example. We were working with a university. They had 100 development people from the top to what they call the service department. And
Okay.
I interviewed a woman who had been a researcher for 16 years. And when I went in to interview her, she had this plaque on her desk that I asked her what it was. She said, well, I've put the university in my will. And they gave that to me. I'm really proud of it. I said, when was the last time a major gift officer came into your office and thanked you for finding somebody and giving them a name that they developed the relationship and went on? And she started crying. She said, nobody's ever come in here to thank me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's what we feel, that there's got to be this revolution of development staffs understanding how important they are, and the people thanking them for what they do. A faculty member thanking somebody for getting a grant. Really, really, this whole thing of gratitude to the
I'm a
development staff
big fan of gratitude. Yep.
is critical. And so that's what we do.
We had Lisa Sargent. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but we had Lisa Sargent on one of our webinars. I got to get her on the on the show too. But that's her niche, all about gratitude, and
So
top down, left, right, doesn't really matter where you are, donor, development, just you got to express your gratitude and appreciation, and let that person know that they matter for
I
sure.
had an assistant director of development who figured out somehow what my favorite candy bar was.
What is it?
Snickers.
Oh, I like Snickers too, especially when they're frozen.
And every time the college got a gift of $100,000 or more, when I would come into the office the next day, there would be a Snicker bar on my seat at my desk. And he had to get the security guards. I don't know how he cut the deal with security guards to let them into the president's office, but he understood the power of gratitude.
Yeah.
You got to do gratitude up too, as well as down.
Yes, of course. I agree.
And
Yeah.
he was awesome at it.
All right. So take me through, how does BrightDot work with nonprofits? I know that you really bring in some infrastructure and process, and just a way to go. I know how you bring color into their world, right? That's what you do. You bring color, and that touches storytelling. It touches emotional intelligence. It touches a number of different things, so that their culture could be firmly planted in gratitude, appreciation, the right storytelling. Put this all together for me.
So when we go in with a new client, the first thing we're going to do is to dance with them a little bit, meaning we're going to get to know them. We
Gonna date for a little while.
date for a while, and we like for them to create a why book. And the why
A
book
why book.
is where every person on the team identifies what their personal why is. And we know from research,
Everyone on the team, not just the development director. Everybody on the team is doing this. Okay, great.
secretaries, everybody. And because we know based upon the Simon Sinek's work and others, that there are 9 potential whys that a person could have. And one of them dominates. And so if the
Okay.
why for instance, BrightDot's why is to impact 100 million lives. That's our why.
Okay.
impacting lives, right? And I've got a team, and on our team, there's 7 different prominent whys that are there. And what we do is to try to make sure they're all headed in the same direction. And so
Mm-hmm.
every nonprofit is
You don't want
going to,
any of this.
right. And we believe the why book is really, really important in onboarding new people, because you take to them the why book before they ever show up for their first day. And they're in their why book. They get to know everybody else, right? And because we know these personal relationships is really, really important. So we do that first. Then we look at their infrastructure. And one of the things that we've discovered is that people just have way too many distractions that keep them from focusing on what their priorities should be. So we created what we call the 6x6 report. And the 6x6 report is where every individual working with their supervisor devises what their 6 great priorities are for the next 6 weeks. Meg Foley on our team, who's a performance psychologist, right now she's down at Fort Bragg training the special forces on how to jump out of airplanes with parachutes on, knowing that when they hit the ground in Afghanistan, they might be shot at. And so it's the same thing for us. And so she says that you can't hold a priority for more than 6 weeks without stopping and looking at it and seeing if it's still the right priority. We created the 6x6. And so you list your 6 priorities, you take it to your supervisor, you see if the supervisor agrees. If so, the supervisor signs it, because we know if you put your signature on something, there's a 75% higher level of achieving it. And then you set the date for your next meeting 6 weeks out. Now, if you've got 6 priorities that you've agreed on and your boss comes in during the 6 weeks and says, hey, I want you to go do this, then you're given permission to pull out your 6x6 and say, okay, I'll go do it. But which of these 6 priorities do I get to take off my list? And it allows for a regular conversation between supervisor and the fundraiser. But then that's followed by the 515 report. And the 515 report is a report that every development person puts together every Friday. And it goes to the supervisor and to all the rest of your people on your team. And there's only 3 questions. The first question is, what are 3 things I really am proud that I achieved this week? The second question is, what is the obstacle that held me back from achieving more? And then the third question is, what are the 3 main priorities I'm going to achieve next week? Then that's sent to your supervisor, but it's also sent to all the rest of the people on the team. So everybody is congratulating each other for the things they accomplished. They're all learning about what the obstacles are. And oftentimes the obstacles could be, I didn't have enough time to put data into the CRM, and it becomes the supervisor's number one role is to remove obstacles. That's what supervisors are for.
So let's go through those 3 things again. Hit me with those again.
Okay. So on the 515 report, what are 3 things that I'm really proud I got accomplished this week? Second question is, what are the obstacles that have been holding me back?
Okay.
Third, and I'm going to give you an example in a second. And the third is, what are 3 things I hope to achieve next week?
Got it. Okay. So hit me up
Right.
with the example. I want the example now.
All right. So when we had instituted this at one of our clients, there were 24 development people that were on the team. And by the way, we work with organizations that only have 1 development person. But on this particular case, there were 24. And on the first week, they all 24 put the same obstacle, right? And he called me up and said, I hate this form. They all got together and they all decided this was the problem. And he said, well, what? He said, what? I said, what was the problem? They said, they all said that their desk chairs were broken. And he said, what am I going to do?
Fix the desk chairs.
Go to Staples and you're going to find out how much it costs to have a truck show up the next week with 24 desk chairs and show them that you're a supervisor that listens.
And that they matter, because nobody should be sitting in a chair that's broken.
And he did it. And it changed the culture.
Wow.
And they continued to do it. So we do that because we got to make sure the culture is strong within an organization. And our number one, Don, if you'll find this interesting, we think the number one thing that we've got to make sure of before we hire a new client is that the CEO or the executive director is coachable.
They're not all coachable.
They all say they are until you start working with them. Right?
Surprise.
And you find out real quickly. And we've had to fire several clients because we just could not get the CEO where he or
Yeah.
she needed to be.
Yeah,
Right?
but that's pretty, I mean, I really love that because, you don't want to be blamed. It's your reputation. You want to help. If you're not affecting change, you're man enough, you're big enough, your team is poised enough to say, you know what, we're here if you need us, but maybe not
And
right now.
I have an advantage over a lot of our fundraising consultant firms in that I was a college president. I was a CEO.
Yeah.
You know, I've had to make really tough decisions before. And
Hmm.
so sometimes I'll call the CEO and say, we just need to have a CEO discussion. All right. One time, you'll find this interesting. One of our clients had a 3-star general who was the CEO. Every time I would go to visit with them, I would meet with the development staff, and he had told them that I'll do whatever BrightDot tells us we need to do. And then as soon as I left town, he wouldn't do it. He would say, no, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. Not going to do that. So finally I decided after a couple of months, I went and got an appointment with him, and I went in the office, and he never came from around he always sat behind his desk when I was meeting with him.
Okay.
And so I said, hey, General, I have great respect for you. You served this country in magnificent ways, and I am really, really grateful. But you've hired me. And let me tell you something, I'm the general of fundraising, and I'm the one that you should be listening to, just like others listen to you about military stuff.
Hmm.
He got up and walked around and sat beside me. And then he said, so you're telling me I'd better the hell get on with this fundraising stuff? I said, you're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And then I walked out and sent a letter ending our contract.
You
Because
did.
I knew
Right.
it would never happen.
Wow.
And so those type things
Square
happen.
pegs and square holes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just had his way, and he wasn't willing to look at other ways.
Yeah. I think that's really important for nonprofits to hear that whatever they do, commit to it and give it some time, right? You have to be all in because then you're not so sure what's working, what's not. And if you don't give it that time to breathe, and you have to trust that you've done good due diligence and that you're working with people that have your best interest at heart. I know here with our product at One Cause, we have a very robust fundraising platform. Year 1 is fantastic. Year 2 is even so much better, right? So you have to kind of stick with it and work, and be committed.
And that's why we believe that if you hire a major gift officer and you don't keep that major gift officer for 5 years, you've lost your money.
Right. So that you've got to keep them happy so that you avoid that 16-month turnover thing.
Correct. And so
Yeah.
we've tried to come up with incentives that could be given to a person to stay for 5 years. And we know all about the ethics and all those type things that can happen. But one of our clients went out and got a $1 million life insurance policy on the major gift officer that the nonprofit owned. It was their policy, and if something happened, they would get the $1 million. They said to this person, if you'll stay for 5 years, we'll change the beneficiary to your wife. Interesting.
Okay.
If you look at athletic coaches, colleges have been doing this forever with coaches. If you stay so long, you get an incentive, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And some of that type of needs to be a part of what we're thinking. I don't think
it disrupts.
And they've built these relationships, and then they're gone. And
Yeah.
I don't think it has to be monetary. I think it's more about mattership and showing
Yes.
people how much they matter, and giving them vacations and
Yeah.
that stuff.
All right. So there's the message. Keep your development team, keep your executive director. Keep them
Absolutely.
happy. Make sure that they know that they matter. I happen to know a little bit more about your story. And so I'm going to pivot a little bit because I want to make sure we get this into this show. I want you to tell me 2 stories. One, talk to me about your sit down with an extremely wealthy donor and nobody really personalizing the conversation and the communication with him. And I think it has something to do with music. Tell me that
Yeah.
story.
So I like to go around the country interviewing top performers. And when I have that opportunity, I only ask them one question. And the question changes depending on who I'm going to see. So I had the opportunity to visit with this very wealthy gentleman, and I promised him I wasn't going to ask for a gift. I just wanted to come ask him a question. And when I sat down with him, I said, would you teach me how to think like a wealthy person? And he said, nobody's ever asked me that before. I said, he said, why would you want to know? And I said, well, for my whole career, I've sat on one side of the table giving proposals to wealthy people. And the whole time I'm presenting my proposal, in the back of my mind, I'm saying, I wonder what he or she is thinking about what I'm doing. So he said, yeah, I'll tell you. I said, I have about 10 development people come see me every month.
Every month. Oh.
And it doesn't matter what institution they're from, how long they've been doing it. I'm always thinking the same thing when they're presenting their proposal. And I said, well, what is that? And he said, how stupid they are.
Every time I hear this story, I get shocked all over again.
And I was shocked by it. I know this person is a person who likes to shock people, right? And he said that to me. And I said, why would you say that?
Yeah.
He says, because it's always about them and their institution and not about me. Said, did you know, Bill, that every wealthy person loves art and music? He said, for instance, I love contemporary art, and his office was filled with contemporary art. And he said, I love classical music, and that was playing through the speaker. And he said, no development person should ever go visit a high wealth donor and not know in advance their art and music. And then he said, and one day when somebody comes to see me, instead of presenting me a proposal and on the cover is the name of their organization and the building they want to build, on the cover is going to be a Monet. And on the second page is going to be words from a Mozart cantata. And they will immediately be saying to me, I know you. Yes. And we'll talk about art and we'll talk about music. And then we'll go into then you can start talking to me about the investment you'd like for me to make in your building or your projects or whatever. And it's been really interesting. I didn't know whether I believed him or not. Mm-hmm. And I think what he was saying to me is not so much about art and music,
right,
as much as it is just knowing something about that individual and showing them right off the bat that you know something about them.
And take the time to get to know something about them. I wonder if we spoke to a number of development directors and said, okay, think of your top 5 most wealthy, your major donors. What do you know about Mrs. Smith, Mr. Jones, Mr. Davids, Mr. Jackson? What do you know about them? How many kids do they have? What do they like to do on the weekends, right? Where do they vacate? Can you list anything about them? I'd be interested to see how many know something and how many don't.
We follow a thing called donor mapping, and we teach our clients there's 6 things you need to know about a person before you go see them. Because what you're looking for is a strong connection in one of those 6 areas that you could have go with you to see that person. So, what's their alma mater? What are their hobbies? Where do they go on vacation? Are they a church person? If so, what church do they go to? And then you search inside those outside circles for a person. And I'll tell you how I figured this out. We did a couple of years ago, we did a big thing called Meet the Millionaires. And I had 3 millionaires who were willing to spend a couple of hours talking to major gift officers. And we invited 50 major gift officers to come in to spend the day. And we asked each of the millionaires to stand up and say, this is how I make decisions where I'm going to give my money. So they each did that. And then we opened it up. And one of the major gift officers asked a woman millionaire, would you ever give a gift to an organization the first time they ever came to see you?
Okay.
And her response, absolutely not. I would never do that. And then she paused, and then she said, unless Barbara came with them. And so we started saying, well, who is Barbara? And they said, my best friend. And if my best friend were to ever come with a development person I didn't know, from an organization I didn't know, and said to me, hey, Gail, I'm invested in this organization and I think you should, I would write a check on the first visit. So what we uncovered was we got to find Barbaras.
Right.
We got to development people find.
And we don't mean that literally. We don't, just like the person that you sat down with that said on the first page, there's, not a cantata, right? We don't mean any of these things literally. I mean, what we're saying is, your donors, their circles, right? And make sure that you're hitting on, their heart. There's, make it meaningful, make sure that they matter, right?
And so, Dawn, that leads to something that always gets us in trouble when we have a client and we start talking about it at the beginning. We say to the CEO, by the time we get through, We want your major gift officers only to have 30 people in their portfolio, not 150,
Okay.
only 30, because you got to go deep in building a relationship.
Yeah.
If you have 150, you're just touching the boundaries, and you can move somebody off and put somebody else on if it's not working, but really focus in and show these people that they matter. Show the
Yeah.
donor that they matter.
Yeah. Go deep. Don't go deep,
Go
not
deep.
wide. Yeah. Love that. All right. So let's wrap up with one of my favorite things. Everything that you do is mindful, intentional. There's a lot of psychology, emotional intelligence about it, and so much creativity. So the mediums in which you teach your clients to communicate are super creative. And I was the recipient of this cute little business. I am still talking about it. I'm still showing people. I am having so much fun with this cute little card. And to our audience, if you're going to be at the Raise conference, I'm bringing it with me. So ask to see it. But this is something that your organization does. It's like a dynamic video card. It's not overly produced. It can be done with a simple smartphone. Tell me all about this video card and how you work with your clients to kind of put this into the play.
We know, particularly for our clients, that if they're going to try to build a relationship with somebody they've never had a relationship with before, just like I never met you before, right, Dom?
We have
So,
not. That's right. And we have a relationship now. So
yeah,
yeah, this
right.
is fun.
You got to find ways to get their attention. And
Mhm.
we have, in fact, right behind me is a table we call the $1 million table. And on the
Hi, $1 million table.
on the table are all the things that we use to get the attention of donors. Because as Jerry Panis used to teach me, getting the first appointment is 95% of the way to getting a gift. That's where you start building a relationship. So we found this card, and when you open it up, there's a 90-second video, and you can make it personal. So the video I sent you began with, "Hey, Dom."
It did. It did.
Right?
And it was no bigger than a credit card.
The same size as a credit card. And then I shared with you a little bit about our connection, what I knew about you, and how I look forward to doing this podcast and how much fun we're going to have on that podcast. And what it does is, first of all, the technology gets their attention. But then
100%.
the fact that you took the time to do a personal video and insert it in here and send it to me, and everybody we've ever sent it to takes it out and shows other people.
Yeah. Okay. So
Right.
how long did it take you to create that video? Because we had spoken that day and I felt like I got it very quickly in the mail. How long did it take you to produce that?
As soon as I got off the conversation with you, I went and got one of my colleagues. I come in here, they said, "Get your iPhone. I've got to speak to Dom." They took the video of me. I then took it to another catalog who uploaded it into the card. It's very easy, and they're chargeable, and you can reuse
I
them
know
over
it
and
came
over
with a
again.
little, yes,
Comes with a charger, right?
it did.
So it took 5 minutes to
Wow.
be able to do that, and it probably took
It
30
takes 5
minutes.
minutes to write an email.
Correct. And it's all about getting to a person's heart.
Well, you did. I can't stop talking about this thing.
Yeah,
And I'm a marketer, right? So, it's hard to catch my attention. It's rare that something stands out to me. So I just love what you're doing. I mean, it's
And listen,
fresh, it's fun, it's bold, it's colorful. You're really just infusing so much emotion and heart and color and creativity into everything that you're doing at BrightDot. And I love that you're sharing that with the nonprofit sector so that they could be really great fundraisers and have a happy, prosperous culture. It's magnificent. Kudos to you.
thank you, Dom. I'm very passionate about it. I love what I do, and I get up every day trying to think of new ways and new things to help. These nonprofits are all filling gaps, society's gaps. But if they don't have the revenue, their mission doesn't matter. And
Mhm.
so our way of helping impact 100 million lives is giving tools and new ways to think to development people so that they can go out there in this chaotic world we're living in right now. Right?
Chaotic. That's an understatement. Yeah. How do you just break through and be the
Break through.
change maker? Because we have so many passionate folks out there. We just want to empower them for sure. Well, I love
Yes.
what you're doing. Don't be a stranger. Thank you
Hey,
again for my video card. It's like one of my prized possessions.
Great.
To our audience, please listen to Bill's webinar with us and hope you enjoyed this episode. But Bill, we'll get all your contact information and all the things on the show notes so people can get in touch with you. But what's next? What's next for BrightDot and how you're empowering nonprofits? What's next?
We're trying to, again, we're still looking for the places where there's challenges for nonprofits. Right?
Solving problems. Yeah.
Solving problems. So right now we're really focusing on those people who are thinking about becoming an executive director or a president of an organization to give them some good fundraising skills.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of them come out of program areas, correct? Because they're really good at the program, they get promoted,
Right.
but they not necessarily. So we have an aspiring presidents club that we've started for individuals. It's a 6-week course. It's just really a lot of fun. And we do a lot of this creative talking.
So much creativity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun. Anyone on your team that you want to shout out before we close out this episode?
Gosh, I got so many great ones. I got Allison Gilbert, who's on our team, is the one who really does a great job coaching our major gift folks. And when she was working at a university, she got a $47 million gift that took her 6 years.
Wow.
To cultivate somebody to get that estate gift. And so she's very methodical and very talks people about taking your time, but make every contact matter. Right. And so to Allison Gilbert, I do a shout out to her.
I love that story. Wow. That's a great major gift. I'd wait 6 years for that as well. Well, Bill, it's such a pleasure. We don't want you to be a stranger. Thank you again for my beautiful video card and for all of the great content. We were a little bit more structured on the webinar, some learning objectives there. But this is just fun and authentic and great to get to know you and your team. I so appreciate your time and appreciate you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much.
This has been fun. Well, that's a wrap for today's show. Big thank you to our guest, Bill Crouch from BrightDot Advisors. You want to give him a call. Tell him Dawn said hi and ask him about that video card. It's super dynamic. And to all of you, thank you. You are truly the heartbeat of this community. Your voices, your experience make Raise Nation Radio just uniquely inspiring. So please, you don't be a stranger either. Join us on the show, share your story, and let's continue building this incredible community together. But until next time, you stay fearless and keep raising the nation. Fearless Fundraisers, that's a wrap for today. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their stories, insights, and expertise. And to you, our fantastic audience, for everything you do to build brighter tomorrows in our communities. We hope today's content inspires you to amplify your mission and grow your impact. Don't forget to join us for new episodes every Thursday, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or catch us on YouTube and on demand at onecause.com. And before we go, we'd love your help in growing this podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, and subscribe to Raise Nation Radio. Share it with a friend, and please leave us a review so we can continue delivering content that inspires and empowers. Raise Nation Radio is produced in partnership with One Cause, your go-to for digital fundraising solutions that connect nonprofits with their donors and drive results. Visit onecause.com or scan the QR code to schedule a one-to-one with their fundraising experts and explore the latest tools and innovations to help you reach more and raise more. Plus, be sure to check out their extensive catalog of free resources to support your mission. All the links are in the show notes. Raise Nation Radio is inspired by the annual Raise Conference, presented by One Cause. We'd love to see you in person at the next Raise event in September. It's a 2-day experience featuring over 35 CFRE accredited sessions, dynamic speakers, and the latest innovations from our sponsor pavilion, and priceless networking opportunities. And while you're there, don't miss the Fearless Fundraiser Party. It's where memories are made and lifelong friendships are formed. Secure your spot today at onecause.com/raise. The link is also in the show notes. Until next time, thank you for tuning in, and as always, stay fearless.